In this video, we will learn about respiration in humans. We know that for respiration we need oxygen, and who supplies oxygen to our body is the respiratory system. And if we see the main respiratory organs in humans, it includes mainly lungs. But lungs is the internal organ. There are multiple other organs which finally supply oxygen to lungs. Now they are all connected to form respiratory system. So if we see how the air passes from outside to the lungs, so first it has to go through the nose and nostrils, the nasal passages, larynx, pharynx, trachea, and finally reaches lungs, which has bronchi and bronchioles. Now if we see the first structure, that is nose and nasal passage. We have nostrils through which we breathe in oxygen rich air, and these air, oxygen rich air, finally passes through into the nasal passage. Now in the nasal passage, what is important is the filtering of air. We know that the air that we breathe in will contain lot of dust. It can have pollen. It can also have pathogens, that is, it can have bacteria, virus, fungal spores, etc. Now, all of these should not reach your lungs. If it ever reaches lungs, it can cause respiratory disorders. Now, this is the main important function of nasal passage to filter air. Apart from that, it will also warm the air and moisten it before it enters the lungs. If we do not do this, it will severely affect the lungs. That is why it is advised to breathe using nose rather than by mouth. Now the next organ is the larynx. Now after the nasal cavity, the air enters into the larynx, also known as voice box. In male, it will appear as an outgrowth and it is known as Adam's apple. Now this larynx connects the nasal passage to pharynx and to the trachea. Now next, the opening of larynx is guarded by a flap-like structure known as epiglottis. Now the opening of larynx is called as glottis. The flap which opens or closes it is known as epiglottis. It is leaf-like structure. Now what is function or what is the importance of epiglottis? It prevents the food from entering into the windpipe. Now if I take, this is the common path, and then we have two paths leading, and the behind one is the food pipe which is esophagus, and the front one is the passage for air, that is trachea. Now how will this bifurcation help us is, we have a common duct, that is pharynx. Now if I eat food, by mistake if it enters the air passage or windpipe, it can result in the blockage of windpipe and breathing will become difficult. That is why when I am swallowing, the epiglottis closes the air passing windpipe. Now if the breathing is happening and food is not available, now then this flap will open and air can easily enter into windpipe. That is why epiglottis is very important. Now finally the air goes to trachea, also known as windpipe. Now here the air that is coming from nasal passage reaches the lungs through trachea. Now trachea is again divided into two sections like this. That is known as the bronchi. Now this bronchi, one bronchi enters one lung. So two bronchi for the two lungs that we have, left lung and right lung. And inside the lung, this bronchi will further divide and redivide into multiple branches, multiple sections, and this is known as bronchioles. And final section is where they cannot divide and they end in a sac-like structure, that is known as alveoli. Now if we have to study about alveoli, we have to go to the lungs. Now you can see that how the air is passing from nasal chamber, nostrils to nasal cavity, then pharynx, then trachea, then bifurcation occurs into bronchi and enters the lung. Now, lungs are a pair of spongy and highly elastic and bag-like structure. We have left lung and right lung, and they both are enclosed in a very tight or airtight cavity, thoracic cavity, and this is protected by backbone from behind, ribs and sternum from the front and side. And it is highly regarded or highly important structure because it is the one which is taking in oxygen and giving it to other parts of the body. Now from below, that is the resting place, this is the base of the respiratory system or lungs. There we can see a large muscular structure. This is known as the diaphragm. Now diaphragm forms the floor of your thoracic cavity. This is the one which separates the two sections. The upper part is termed as thoracic and the lower part is termed as abdomen. So diaphragm is the structure which bifurcates the two regions within our body. Now, if we take lungs, lungs have numerous thin-walled tiny air sacs called as alveoli. Singular is alveolus. How will it look? So, if I have bronchioles and the last branch, then they have air sacs like this, balloon-like structure. Now, this is where the actual exchange of gases occurs. Now the surface of alveoli is covered by a fine network of blood capillaries. So blood supply is very much present in these alveoli. So you can see this network will be your blood vessels or capillaries. Now when we breathe in, the alveoli will get filled with fresh air, that is oxygen rich air. Then oxygen from this part, that is this center part, will have to enter into these capillaries, and from these capillary it goes to other parts of the body. Now similarly, carbon dioxide from the blood should enter into the alveoli and take it out of the body through exhalation. I hope this topic is clear to you. Thank you.